Hi everyone, my name is Pedro Maciel, and this is the X Factor Safety Podcast. This show will dive into the daily tactics, techniques, and practices of everyday safety pros, from industry leaders and beyond. We will find out what their X Factor is. Welcome back to the show, everybody. On today's episode, we're going to have a special guest. His name is Curt Brannan. He is an avid outdoorsman. He definitely takes safety to heart, and he's definitely in a different industry than most. And you know how we feel about safety on our show. So let me introduce you to Curt Brannan. Curt, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
We are definitely wanting you on. It's a pleasure of you being here and taking the time out to be on the episode. So tell everybody a little bit about your background.
My background is about 30 years in the steel fabrication business, just about every aspect. Started out welding, then started fabricating, sandblasting, painting, finally led up to some supervision for a few years, little bit of everything.
Okay. So steel fabrication, that's one of my specialties as well. I love steel fabrication and being in the steel industry. But you said you started welding. What kind of safety factors went into your day-to-day tasks when you were welding?
Well, to be honest with you, back when I started, unfortunately, safety wasn't as big a deal as it has become now. All you had then basically was the people you were learning from, so you just got the basics of your PPE, keeping a good clean lens, proper gloves, keeping your sleeves on, then all your skin covered, keeping in mind that things that are hot. Basically the very, very basics of what some people would call common sense now. Back was about all we got when I started.
Got you. So it's just like, okay, let me hire you on. Here's what you're going to be doing. You have a certain set of skills. Be careful and don't get hurt.
But basically, yeah, that's how it was. And unfortunately, a lot of places still do that.
Got you. Now, and I've been subject to some of those jobs myself, but you said 30 years ago. 30 years ago, safety was a lot different. It was, CYA in a sense, and making sure you didn't get hurt. And if you did, you put a Band-Aid on it and went back to work. Nowadays, we have all kinds of reporting and incident investigations that we have to do. I noticed you said you were in the leadership role. So what kind of investigation tactics do you have coming from the ground up in a sense? What did you go through being the welder and being part of the workforce to becoming a leader? Explain to us a little bit about that.
Well, back when I was just the welder, a lot of times, and this is not the right way to do it, but like I said, back then, if you got hurt, if it wasn't too serious, a lot of times, you just take care of it yourself, clean it up. If it was a little more serious, obviously what you should always do is go to your direct supervisor. No matter how small it is, you should always mention, hey, I did something stupid, I touched this, or I burned this, I set my pants on fire, my shirt on fire, all of that happens. All the way up to the point of now you're watching the guy next to you. Then you're telling him, hey, you need to tell somebody you did that. All the way up to the position of being a supervisor, letting all my guys know, no matter how small it is, it's okay. Just let me know what happened. We'll go from there. And then me going to my safety guy and to my supervisor And obviously, if the guy needs medical attention, that's the first priority. But just reporting it up the chain and keeping the information going, getting the proper paperwork turned in, and making sure that everything is recorded to protect this guy and to protect the company.
Awesome. Good info. I hope all our listeners out there are listening to this. This is some good info that we have on this episode today. So fast forward 30 years, where are you at now? What type of work are you doing? What type of outdoorsy stuff do you do? Let the listeners know a little bit about that.
Back in July, I decided to do something a little different. So I left the steel fabrication to go to the complete opposite thing, and that was to get outside and get into the woods and get into the clean air and clean water. So I joined the Roanoke Appalachian Trail Club, and basically what I became was a volunteer ridge runner to get me outside, get some exercise. I need that. So we get out and we get on the trails. We talk to people. Usually I try to catch them right in the parking lot, see what they are doing for the day. Do you have plenty of water? Is one of the first things I ask them. I always check out their foot gear. It's a pretty rough climb up at McAfee's Knob and Dragon's Tooth, which is where we're basically at here in Virginia. Ask them, do they have at least a little boo-boo kit as far as first aid? Check everyone out, have a little conversation with them, just try to get their head wrapped around the day of what they're doing and what they might need. We get up on the trail. Obviously, we pick up trash. We do trail maintenance. We clean up the shelters, and we try to, talk to people while we're up there. And when I'm not doing that, I am a park attendant out at Explore Park in Roanoke. And what that entails is we have 1,100 acres of trails out there. There's bike trails, there's hiking trails. We have campers, primitive camping, yurts. We got cabins. We have a glamping tent. So I'm always interacting with hikers and campers out there, and basically the same thing. Try to have a little conversation with them about first aid, water, shoes. Foot gear is a big deal. What we always do is start talking about. We talk about the weather, what it's going to be like for the day. Always try to get people, thinking about things that they might not normally think about, and just to hop out of their car and decide to go for a 5-mile walk. People don't think about those type of things. And on the weekends during the summertime, which will start back up in March, I am a guide at the zipline ropes course that we have. And that is a whole long list of safety things we do there.
So before you get into that, just want to say, being outdoors and, it's a different type of activity than being inside a steel fabrication shop. And it's a different set of hazards, and people sometimes don't realize that safety is everywhere. We have to be safe no matter where we go, no matter what we are doing. And that just, you explaining that, what you're talking to with those campers and those hikers and bikers, just lets everybody know that's listening, hey, make yourself a little mental note, a little safety checklist before you start to head out on an expedition like that.
Yeah.
That's great info. I greatly appreciate that. So get back to the zip lining. Explain to us what kind of safety stuff you go through that.
Okay. When we first get there in the morning, the first thing we do is we inspect every single harness that we have. We're checking it for frays. Same way we do with the safety harnesses there at the steel plant. We check for frays. We check for loose, any type of stitching or webbing. We check all the buckles. We check all the carabiners, not just that they're there, that they're working properly, that they spring and they lock like they're supposed to. We go through every single one of them. We go through all of the trolleys that are on it for the actual parts of the course. That zip line, there's 2 wheels on a trolley that snap on the line to make sure that snap works and the trolleys are rolling freely. After we've done all of that, we all gear up and we run every inch of the course. We check every turnbuckle. We got to check every line, every cable, every pad, every platform, all of that before anyone's even allowed to come into the park.
Wow,
So
that's pretty extensive.
Day, yeah. That's every morning.
So now every morning. So that's a pretty extensive check that you have to go through. And obviously, for main reasons, you're up at heights, and that's the reason why you're checking all of this, equipment and materials that you'll be using throughout the day. Now, is there a checklist for all of that material that you end up checking? Is there anything that you write down through your spot checks when you're doing it in the morning?
Yep, absolutely. Now, the way we do the harnesses is we have a my pile, your pile, her pile, his pile type of deal. And once we go through all of our piles, the supervisor for the day, or the lead, puts them back in their hanging position in the storage shed. So once again, they're going over them again as they put them back. They're looking for, basically at that point, just obvious things that we may have missed, because we're all watching each other and he's watching us, check every single thing. And then you have a paper that you sign and you initial. And then each person, there's 4 courses. When you get assigned a course, we usually draw a number, so everybody don't get the easy course every day. So we draw a number. Of course, you are 100% responsible for every living being that gets on that course for the day. So that could be hundreds of people just on that course that you inspected. That's your name that's on it. And there's different categories of what you check. The platforms is a check. The zip lines are a check. The courses, the obstacles, steps, handles, and padding are all separate boxes. And you check each single one, verifying and swearing that you visually and physically checked every single one of them. That is you're responsible at that point for everyone that gets on it.
So you're signing that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And when you sign that, then your lead signs off on it also. So there's got to be a lot of trust and a lot of communication. As soon as you find one little thing, you call it out on the radio, and someone immediately comes to it. Immediately.
That was my next question. How do you all at the ridge line, not at the ridge line, at the zip line, communicate? And you said radio.
Yeah.
So what other ways of communication do you all have there at the courses?
For each other, our main communication, since we can't see each other through the course of the day, because the courses are so spread out. There's always the lead is always up on the deck, the fitting deck, where everyone gets their harnesses put on and off, and at least one other person there, and someone at the ground school. We can't see each other, so there's always a radio. We have little calls, like if someone we know is going to struggle or struggling right off the bat, we have a little call that we give over the radio, say, Hawkeye, red sweatshirt. We have not really any hand signals, anything per se. There's a few of us, I don't know, I guess it's a military thing. There's a few of us that were in the military who kind of do the, point at your eyes with 2 fingers and then point at someone, kind of be a little more discreet than coming over the radio. Other than that, the only other communication comes from the people while they're on the course. The only command that they are given to call for assistance is blue shirt. So
nice. And that was segueing into the next little topic. People that come to the course, do they go through like a safety orientation of what's expected and what kind of safety regulations and practices you guys have at the lines?
Absolutely. Every person, when they come in, they have to weigh in. We do have a weight limit at our facility right now. When they all come down on the deck, they are placed in front of their harness, and when they step into it, the only thing we allow them to do is to pull it up. We do all the adjustments once it gets on their shoulders. We do all the adjusting for them. Most of us will explain to the person, what we're doing. There's a thing about, touching people. So you always try to explain what you're doing and where you're at doing it. And we get all the harnesses on them. Then we fit them with gloves, and we fit them with a helmet, and we do all of those adjustments as well. Once this group of people are fitted up, they'll be introduced to the person that's running the ground school for that day. Now, every single person has to go to the ground school. It doesn't matter if you came yesterday. If you're back today, you go back through the ground school. And what happens is that is a mini course that has everything on it that all the other courses have, but it's only a couple of feet off of the ground. So this is where you receive all of your instructions. We have very few rules, like only one person at a time here, only 3 people can be here. This is your command for here. Look out for the other guy. Pretty simple, because we have a pretty unique system called a continuous belay. It looks just like a big C. Now, once you put that on the system that we have, you cannot come off of these lines until you get to the very end of the line. It's absolutely impossible for you to come off of it at any point during the course. So that is all explained to them, and once they're done with the course, the ground course, they can go in any order to any course that they want to, where one of us will be waiting at the beginning of any one of the 4 courses.
So from the time they start the course, the little mini course down on the ground, to the time they finish, what is that run time? About how long does it take to get through that little mini course?
Per each person, if I was to break it down for individual training, it's a good 15 minutes per person if you break it down. So if you have a group of about 12 that come through at a time, the last guy on, they have to get it explained to them as the guide does all of it first in front of them and shows them, and then one at a time, each person goes through the course and individually. But once that person comes off of the end, they're free to go as long as they did everything right. If they don't, they get recycled, kind of like basic training. If you messed it up, you got to do it again.
Right. You have in a sense, a qualification card saying that you passed all the levels of qualification, and now you can go run, the big boy and big girl zip lines.
Yeah. We call it the verbal
that's
stamp.
a good. It's called what?
We call it the verbal stamp. You got the verbal stamp of approval to go through the course.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And hopefully, if I ever go back up to Virginia, I will definitely be trying those zip lines.
Oh yeah.
Having kids and thinking about those extracurricular activities outdoors, you think, oh, we're just going to pay some money and go have some fun. But, the people that are actually running those types of extracurricular activities, they actually have safety on their mind all day. From the time the park opens to the time the park closes, because like you said, they're all responsible for everybody that's going through those courses.
Yep.
No, this is great information, and I hope everybody that's listening is taking notes. And so the next time you decide to go ziplining, no matter where it's at, whether it's in Central Virginia or down in Florida, just take note and be kind to whoever is tending to your needs and trying to get you acclimated and trained up so you can go to the big boy and big girl courses.
Yep, definitely.
So one of my biggest questions that I like to ask my guests in regards to safety, what is your take on safety? How do you feel? How do you use it in your day-to-day?
Well,
didn't mean to stump you.
I don't know. It's hard to explain, because I think it's in everything that I do, from the moment I leave my house and get in my vehicle and come to the end of my driveway. I try to be aware of situational awareness is my biggest thing. And I guess that's what I preach it, especially my grandsons now that they're coming up and they're around me more often. Pay attention to what's going on around you. It's probably going to save your life more times than anything, just paying attention. It's not always necessarily what you're doing and what you have going on, although it may be dangerous, a lot of times it's what's going on around you and what somebody else is doing and not paying attention, maybe not even aware that you're in their space or in their area or not even in their view of what they're doing. So safety to me is, I mean, not to sound corny, it's life. Literally,
not corny at all.
It's life. It's all around you all the time, just by paying attention, to what's going on and paying attention to the other people. Not to the point that you're not paying attention to you, but I mean, gosh, you got to keep an eye on everybody and everything these days. And I think that's the best way to keep you and your family safe. Just know what's going on around you.
And you put it, so perfectly. Situational awareness, knowing what's going on around you at all times. And like you said, not technically in a sense worrying about what you're doing, but looking around you and seeing what hazards could be, around you and what somebody else could be doing that's hazardous that could harm you or your family. That's great stuff. So what kind of training have you taken? Have you taken any courses in safety? Being, you've been in the industry for a while and doing all kinds of different things. What kind of trainings have you, or courses or certifications have you taken?
I'm always looking for something. Some of the things that I've gotten myself physically involved in recently is I took the obviously it's free, but it's incredible, is the Stop the Bleed courses that are offered basically everywhere. If you get online and look, there's one near everyone. That or some type of wilderness first aid or first aid classes, CPR, AED. You can find these classes basically for free almost anywhere, and I've just been soaking up things like that here lately, like crazy. As soon as I find them, I'm on them.
So talk about the Stop the Bleed. What did that entail, and how long was that course?
I took mine at the Carillion Hospital here in Roanoke. It was offered for free. Gosh, I'm gonna say we was in there for at least 2 hours, if not. It was at least 2 hours, and they're pretty thorough. They go through. They used a soft key tourniquet. It's not the type I use, but it's a good tourniquet. A lot of EMTs and a lot of law enforcement carry and use those. So I mean, it's a great tourniquet. If you don't have one at all, it's a great one. They show us the proper usage of tourniquets, usage and placement. Tell you when you should use a tourniquet and what parts of the body you would use a tourniquet on. We actually had to put them on each other, which was great, and they had a heart monitor there. So when you got it tight enough, you couldn't pick up a pulse, and I thought that was good too. So you know how to put it on properly. The usage of that, they went through a lot of statistics about car accidents, and unfortunately, I know it's a hot and touchy subject right now, especially here in Virginia. Shooting, gosh, I hate to even add up, but I mean, it's a reality, guys. It can happen anywhere, anytime. So they talked about that a lot, which is what actually started the government paying for these courses, by the way. That's what they talk about in the beginning. They talk about Sandy Hook and, the whatever that concert was. I'm sorry, it slips my mind right now.
In Las Vegas. Yeah, the Las Vegas concert.
Yeah. So reasons like that is why the government is doing that. So then they talk about wound packing. It got a little uncomfortable for some people. I liked that they had a live looking model in there, and they teach you how to just start, packing gauze inside of a stab or a bullet wound, and that may or may not apply to what I do at my job, but it could. So I jumped right on that, and I honestly think that everyone should, if you get a chance, should take this course.
Yeah, and I mean that like you said, you don't know when you're going to need it, but it's better to be safe than sorry, and having that knowledge, to pack a wound. Say there's a bullet wound that you have that you want to stop bleeding, and obviously it's not gonna stop on its own if it's big enough, and you just have to pack it with some type of gauze, or you end up severing your arm, or get a really big gash on your leg, and you got to stop losing blood so that raise the chances of survival. That's real important. I'm definitely gonna look at.
Yeah, even if you don't want to look at the gun thing that people don't want to talk about, hey, car accidents happen every day, and it don't have to be your driving. Like I said, situational awareness. It could be somebody else not paying attention, and you got involved in it. Here you got the stuff right there in your car. You know how to use it. You saved your wife. You saved your kids. I mean, it's win-win just to learn something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So moving back to the outdoors, because I'm starting to get into the outdoors, and it's definitely something that, coming from an expert like yourself in the outdoors, what are some of the things that our listeners could probably pack inside their day packs to keep them safe?
Well, that's kind of a big conversation at my park right now. Some people think that I carry too much. I don't think I do. I carry a tourniquet in my pack, but it's a rat tourniquet. If you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like a bungee cord with a X type of metal piece in it. And the reason I carry that is when it's small, but I found it's the easiest for me to apply to myself. Okay, I'm in a Kubota quite a bit through the day. It's slick out there, it's muddy, I'm going up hills, I'm going down hills. That's why they call them accidents. Anything could happen. So I keep that. That's my personal preference. I keep combat gauze. Also my personal preference. Someone on a day hike or just going out trekking, there's no reason not to keep what I call a boo-boo kit. I carry a boo-boo kit in my back pocket. It consists of fingertip, knuckle bandages, straight bandages, maybe 2 of each, some Tylenol, got some antibiotic cream. I got little sunscreen in there. I got antibiotic wipes. I have Imodium. Hey, people can laugh at that, but people at work have actually asked me for it. I keep Benadryl. I mean, snake bite, bee sting. You don't know. Pump some Benadryl in you real quick. It'll buy you some time till you can get to the hospital or the EMTs get out there. Tylenol. I keep a little bitty tablets of Celox in there. Again, personal preference. I mean, basically anything you can think of that you've ever used through the course of your whole life to make you feel better about something that you've went through, just keep it in your bag. As long as it's not weighing you down or taking up space for water or food or something like that, it doesn't hurt to have it.
Yeah, I like how you put it, the little boo-boo kit.
Yeah.
Everybody gets boo-boos, especially if you're trekking or outdoors with kids. The kids bump or scratch themselves. You're going to have to treat that. So keep a little first aid kit when you go out, outdoors. Even if it is a day hike, still keep a first aid kit because you never know what you're going to come across.
There are a lot of people that have went out with a day hike in mind that 4 days later have been found dehydrated and hypothermia. So just keep that in mind. Anything can happen the moment you leave your car and go into the woods. That's why it's called the unknown and called accident. Not trying to scare anyone or make them paranoid. Just think about it.
Oh, no, not on this show. This is the X Factor of Safety podcast. We lay it all out on the table here. So with that being said, if you do decide to go out, pre-plan, planning is essential for anything we do, from going to work to going outdoors. It's pre-planning, knowing what you might come across, thinking ahead of time.
Yeah.
So back to the steel industry. What was one of your favorite things about working in the steel industry, and what was one of your worst things about working in the steel industry?
Can quitting be a favorite thing?
Yeah, it can.
No, that's not my favorite thing. It actually, it was a hard decision. But one of my favorite things, it's probably gonna sound strange maybe to some people, but seeing new people come in that actually had hope and potential, wanted to learn the right way. And that being said, that's kind of sad if you think about it, because you get so many people that come in there that come from somewhere else, and they're kind of just going through the motions of, hey, this is another job. I liked seeing the ones come in that were like, hey, this is really cool, this is really neat, and especially if I got to train them, or if I had anything to do with their training, or a mentor type deal. That honestly, I think that was probably my favorite part, with new people.
Nice. Yeah, and it's definitely good. You get somebody coming into an area that they've never been before, and they start to take that and enjoy what they do, and having a good mentor, or good coach to show them the ropes, and in a sense teach them right from wrong, just like you would do your kids, but kind of bring them up through the ranks and show them the right way to do things. I think it goes a long way. And then retention, retention rate ends up being a lot higher when you have good mentors and good coaches.
I think so.
So that's the good. Okay, good. Now what's the bad?
Woo, so much of it. Let's see. Well, really, it's not like detrimental bad. Bad wasn't why I left, so I'll just say that up front. Bad would be probably the way some situations could have been handled differently. Like training, like we were just talking about, the mentoring and the people that are excited and stuff. If you stick them with the wrong person when you bring them in, you're definitely not going to have a good employee out of them. You could ruin them right off the bat. So I would say the worst part about it was sometimes, sometimes it was just poor management. Sometimes I'm just going to say it.
Hey, it's perfectly fine. Speak freely on this show. We talk about real stuff, real world, real life stuff. So if it was poor management, it's poor management. If it was, poor supervision, it was poor supervision.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get we're trying to get a sense of what, Curt went through, and why he, what was his worst about being in the steel industry.
Yeah, the worst thing about it was just seeing, the way some people got hung out to dry that were better than the way they were being treated, and the ones that weren't that good being treated better than they were. You know what I mean? And anybody that knows me or you knows where we're talking about, which is fine. If any of them hear it, I'm a big boy. I'm not going to say their name, but I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, no, I get it, and what Curt's referring to, we both worked at the same steel fabricator plant, so we are talking about some of the the issues, internal issues, in regards to management and the change of management and the supervisory roles and certain practices and techniques. So and again, like I said, this show, we're laying it all out there, real world stuff. and it is what it is. We moved on. We are doing better, and we're on this podcast together. So something that went right.
Yep. I'm happy.
There we go. That's always good. It's always good to be happy. Got to be happy in what we do.
I got messaged the other day, and they an individual. Only one guy of my crew is left. By the way, the rest of them have all left. They don't want to work with anyone else. But he asked me, did because I left in July 26th. He asked me just last week or this week, do I regret leaving? I said not yet. I don't. He's scared. I talked to him. Don't jump if you ain't ready. But I don't regret leaving. I really don't.
Yeah, I was the corporate safety director for this company, and like I said in the beginning when I introduced Curt, he mentored me. He was one of the guys that was real passionate about safety. I came in and I did a little bit of change, and my end result, my end goal was to make sure everybody went home safe. In the steel fabrication industry, we all know that you're gonna get the nicks and the bruises and the bumps and small minor cuts and small minor first aids and debris in the eye, and we changed that for the most part, and we were really headed with a good safety program. But like we said, somewhere along the way, the management and the executive team and just the overall vibe of it, they were not feeling it. So,
and some of them are gone.
Correct.
One of the
but that's a whole different episode.
So yeah. I mean, I think you were on. Well, let me back up. I know you were on the right track. You got a lot of resistance. It didn't sway you, and I like that. I admired that about you. I think you were doing a hell of a job, and I think you
appreciate that.
Didn't get appreciated, and it's their loss. Their loss.
Yeah, and I mean, we go through these spurts, and especially safety guys. If you find a good company that supports the safety program, you can have a long tenure with them. But a lot of the times, especially being young, a young safety guy and trying to make change at the corporate level, lasts maybe about 2.5, 3 years, 5 years at the max. And then it kind of gets stale, and then you have to, move on to bigger and better things. So,
I mean, there's got to be other safety guys out there that are going to hear this eventually, and I think you'll agree, you're always going to have the shop guys that are going to resist you. You're always, because it doesn't make sense to them, or we've always done it that way, or I've never got hurt doing that before. You hear all that stuff. I've heard it, so I know the safety guy has. But when you have people over you that's supposed to support you that are always going against you, I mean, I'd be curious how you deal with that. That's when it makes it hard. When your own support group doesn't support you, then how do you keep trying to move forward? The guys are going to do it. Your support group, they're not supporting you, then makes it tough. Makes it really tough.
Okay, so we're going to go hypothetical. You are upper management. You are the executive team for XYZ steel fabrication. Steel. Okay. How are you going to support your mid-level supervisors and all the way down to, the newest guy there?
My supervisors?
Everybody. You are the top dog of the company. You are the, president, CEO, COO, main executive. How are you gonna, belay information down to your mid-level supervisors who's running your shop for you, to the newest guy pushing a broom in the shop?
Well, all my sergeants that I have out on the floor, Hopefully, not hopefully, I would at least, know their first and last name. I would know their faces, which we didn't have where we were at. I'd know their names. I'd know something a little about them. We would talk about what's important for the company, the goals, but we would also talk as men every now and then, so we could have a little more rapport and a little more camaraderie with each other. So that's how you gain trust. So if I'm trusting all of my supervisors, I'm paying them to make decisions. So now I trust them to make decisions. I'm gonna back them up when they make a call. If I have trust and I have a rapport with these guys and they trust me, then I'm gonna trust them. When they make a call on something, I'm gonna have to back them up. And then when the guy that's cleaning the toilets comes to me and says, "Hey, this supervisor said yada yada to me, came at me sideways, throwing shade at me," then we're gonna talk about that, because I'm not gonna tolerate smack talking up or down. We don't need that.
Nice. Can I come work for you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. No, that's great. That's a good, portrayal of how you would support your team. And a lot of times we get, in the motions, we just start going through the motions. But when you actually have that support, from executive team and even from, president, CEO, owner of the company, and that information and support goes all the way down to the lowest level, that brings your entire safety culture up. Like you said, the camaraderie in between each other, the being able to work and lend a helping hand. And then if you have a problem, the lowest guy on the totem pole knows that he can relay that information up, and it's gonna, something's gonna happen. It's not just gonna be swept underneath the rug or, avoided. It's gonna be investigated and looked upon and see how we can get better. Because that's the name of the game, getting better at what we do.
Yep, you have to have it. And another thing on a side note that you didn't bring up, but I also know as another big problem from that other place was my safety department. Okay, my safety department knows all the OSHA regulations. They know the rules. They know what we paid last year in hospital bills, damages, damaged equipment. You guys have the reports for all of that. Now, you're going to come to me on the third time and say, you got a problem with this guy and nobody's doing anything about him. You've got with the supervisor, this guy's still grinding without his shield on all the time or chipping without his shield on. My safety guy is going to have as much pull, because we're going to have that same rapport and that same trust that I have with my supervisors to send this guy home. Because, especially if my supervisor's not doing it, the safety guy is then going to trump my supervisor, and probably not just because he's going to save me a ton of money on an injury and doctor bills. He's going to save this guy's vision. He's going to possibly save this guy's life. So, yeah, the safety guy has to have as much, if not a little bit more pull than the supervisor, and he definitely has got to have upper management's ear and support. Definitely. Because you can't come to the safety guy and blame him for all these injuries and all this money that we're paying out, but then when he tries to implement something, tell him, well, you can't do that. You can't have both. So I would fix that problem too.
Nice. This is such a great episode. I'm glad you were able to take the time out to come on the show. With that being said, how do you build up one of your supervisors? One that's, barely becoming a supervisor. Yes, he knows his trade. He knows how to be a worker, and he just turned supervisor. How do you build him up? What do you do?
All right. Well, we had a young one over there at the main plant. Probably know who I'm talking about. Started in the shop floor, real young guy. Started wanting to be a lead, and then all of a sudden became a lead. Do you know who I'm referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't think he got the support that he needed. I tried. What I think needs to happen there is bonding with the other supervisors. For one, you need to create a good culture in your shop to where your supervisors are working with each other and talking with each other, not passing the buck or pointing the blame. Well, I couldn't get this done because this didn't get sawed. Well, this got sawed, but I couldn't work it because the detail didn't get done. We don't. The owner doesn't need to hear that. Upper management doesn't need to hear that. All they care is they missed the shipping date. They don't care why. They don't need all of that stuff. You need to have a culture where all your supervisors are talking to each other and working with each other. So when this guy is coming up, somebody, if hopefully everyone, but at least somebody that is on the same line as him in the same shop will take him under their wing. Who better to learn from than a supervisor that you've known and trusted and have a rapport with to teach your new guy that, this is how it should work, how it's supposed to work. You don't train a guy at one plant by somebody and then send him over to run another plant. Both plants don't work the same, and now he doesn't know anybody that he's working with. Yeah. That's not how you generate a good culture. Everyone needs to be sitting at the same table, having a break, having a coffee, just shooting the shit first thing in the morning or right at the end of the day, letting steam out, all your supervisors together without the shop guys around. Supervisors shouldn't be in the break room where the shop guys are. It should be kept separate. Those guys need to vent too, and they don't need us in the middle of it. Everybody should have their own little space, but then, you have that one meeting, obviously, like we used to have, where everyone is together. These are the main topics, and then open the floor. And don't just shoot anybody down that brings something up. Actually discuss it. If it means something to him, it should mean something to you.
Yep. I totally agree. And, running the safety meetings and you're good. You're good. No worries. There is no filter on this X Factor show. I promise you. But, and to Curt's, last note, you got to have the culture. You got to be able to communicate amongst each other in order to change a culture and to bring a culture from a bad light into a good light. Yeah. And, being this, the safety guy, and the safety professional in general, my biggest thing is making sure everybody is heard on an equal playing field. Yeah. And, if somebody has an issue or a problem, like after safety meetings, you would open the floor up for discussion and see what, people are, what their gripes are, what do they need help with, where are we failing at, so that way we can get better. So
absolutely.
So outside of the your outdoor jobs, what do you do for fun?
Well, I don't know if it's really fun yet, but I have been dabbling in pallet wood, making little Christmas gifts here this last season. Now I'm working on making I'm calling it Curt's Fancy Firewood. So if you don't like it, you can burn it, and I'm not gonna feel bad. So what I'm doing is actually making everything out of flammable materials that are non-toxic. So you can burn it. It's 4x4 is out of clean pine with holes drilled in it, wrapped in jute twine, so it's flammable, or with burlap that's not been treated. So I'm not using stains or paints or color. So you can pack sawdust and a fire starter down in it and use it as a fire starter if you want to, or you can just chunk it in the fire. So wow. There's actually some people that's interested in it, so we'll see.
Hey, I might take you up on that. Get me a couple and put them on my pack for when I go camping and hiking and stuff. Oh yeah,
they make definitely all my fire starters. So I make them out of sawdust and recycled egg cartons. So
There you go. So even with that hobby that you have, that extracurricular activity, you still have to keep safety in mind because you're using different types of tools and stuff, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, hand tools. Let me tell on myself. And hopefully, maybe everybody else knows this, and I'm the last guy on the planet to figure this out. I have a 4.5-inch electric grinder, and I have the overlapping sanding disc that go on that on a Velcro attachment. The overlapping sanding discs have been in my basement all summer and all this fall. I put one on my 4.5-inch grinder and just bumped it and turned it on. All of the sanding pads flew off of it all over my basement.
Oh, wow.
It was moist. They had got moist and damp down in the basement, and they were absolutely ruined. So, wow. Lesson learned. I did not have my face shield down over my face. That's what I'm going to do. It was on my head. I know better. So there's me telling on myself for this episode. So anyone, even if you're going to test a tool, have your PPE already on. There's no reason not to.
There you go. See, and that's awesome. There's no reason not to have your PPE on. And yeah, even though if you have it on, make sure that it's used properly. Like you said, he had it on his head, right, and forgot to put it down, right, and could have been an eyeball.
I know better. I know better.
Yeah, we all do, and sometimes especially if like we're in the construction field or in the general industry field, steel fabrication, whatever it is, sometimes we forget little things like that and take it for granted when we're at home, because it's, in a sense, preached to us day in and day out, be safe, be safe, be safe in the work, in the workplace. So you're like, I don't really have to put the face shield on. I know what I'm doing. And then somebody ends up losing the eyeball or, falling off a ladder because they didn't have it, pitched right, supported correctly. So,
yeah, just like we'd say, at work, and in a little bit of a jokingly way, but in all seriousness, complacency kills. But when you get complacent with something or you get comfortable with something, that's when you mess up.
Yep.
That's when it bites you.
Yep. Complacency kills. That's great.
I'm gonna put that on my wall.
Yeah, no, and I mean it's good. It's really good, and you get complacent, and it just goes back to the situational awareness. You've done the task over and over and over, but if you're not situationally aware, what's the new hazard in the environment? Who is the new personnel that's not running that machinery the right way, or what type of mobile equipment is passing me by today versus yesterday? Those types of things, and you get complacent, and then that's when injuries and accidents start to happen. So
that's exactly right. Yep.
So we're getting close to the end of the show. Again, Curt, I really want to thank you for being on the episode, taking the time out to be here with us, and giving us an insight on what you do and letting everybody know that there is safety outside of safety. And in the workplace, extracurricular activities, there's all kinds of safety that goes into those extracurricular activities that you want to do this weekend. So again, appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
And with that being said, everybody that's listening, greatly appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we will see you later. Well, we're at the end of our show, so I hope I was able to add value to your everyday activities and essentially bring value to you. That's what we want to do here on the show. We look forward to inspiring you with new and amazing content every week, anywhere from safety insights to interviews with leaders in various industries. If you have a topic or idea that you might want to have featured on the show, or if you yourself want to be featured on the show, send an email to safetytrainer1215@gmail.com. Again, that's safetytrainer1215@gmail.com. Now, before we leave, I just want you to think about one thing and ask yourself one question. What is your X factor? Until next time.